Hello and
Hey,
welcome
hey.
to Hey Will. Hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Breaking Silos with me, your host Sophia Jamil. Can you hear me okay? Is all okay? All right. Yeah. So today I have with me William Schultz all the way from Minnesota, cold Minnesota. And our topic for today is breaking silos, breaking out of street mentality. And, as I've mentioned in my previous podcast, geographical silos or geographical barriers are easier to overcome than the barriers that exist in real life.
I think we might have lost you, Sophia. Well, looks like we might have lost Sophia there. I think she might have had a bad internet connection. I don't know if we're still live or not. So I'll just kind of hang out here until maybe she comes back and we'll see what happens here. I don't know if we're still live or so not. I'm still on here. I can see myself. I'll just kind of hang out here until maybe she comes back. So, everybody out there, my name is William Schultz. I am from St. Paul, Minnesota, which is located in the United States. I met Sophia through LinkedIn. We do some business together. Basically, I have a company called Vivid Concepts Media, which does some social media marketing. And it's a company that works out here in the Twin Cities of Minnesota, and we I connected with Sophia via LinkedIn. I don't know, maybe like a year ago, and we just kind of became friends, and then I had an opportunity to do some work with her on the social media marketing side of things, and we just connected, and it's been working. So I'm actually going to shoot her a text and see if she's going to be able to get back on. So just waiting to hear back from her. Okay, she's coming back on.
Oh my God,
Yay.
sorry folks. Yay tech. We love tech. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, it's fine now. Thank you everyone for your patience. Um yeah, so what did you last hear me say, Will?
I think the last thing I heard you say was that was from Minnesota. That was about it. We didn't get very far. You were starting to glitch out before that.
Holy. Oh no. Okay. You know what I'll do? I think it's this banner. I'm gonna stop this banner. Because when I didn't have the banner the last time,
I don't know. Do you have
does
anything
it
else
better?
open on your desktop? Maybe like your Facebook or anything like that?
Nope.
I can hear you, but
Can you hear
it's
me?
real glitchy. So something's slowing down your
Oh
internet
my
connection.
God, this is terrible. Yeah, oh man. Okay, Sakib, I know you're hearing this. You thought our problem was bad. This is a little bit more. Um,
Technology is
let's
great until
see.
it doesn't work. It seems like it's getting a little better. I don't know.
Oh my, yeah. Hi. Okay, it looks better now.
Yeah, I can hear you better. It's
Yep.
starting to catch
Okay.
up to itself
Great.
now. It's starting to catch up to itself now a little bit.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Maybe it's my new mic.
Ha.
So much for trying to be fancy. Okay. Thanks, folks, for your patience. I was saying that Will and we got to know each other through Gary Vee. So, as I used to say as I mentioned in my previous podcast, the geographical barriers that exist, geographical barriers and silos are easier to overcome than the barriers that exist in our minds. And Will is one person that has done both. Like I mentioned, we've both met through Gary Vee on LinkedIn, and we connected through that. And we've been doing a couple of projects together, social media content creation project for ANEW Chemical Health Services, which is a sober house in St. Paul, Minnesota. And, and Will, through knowing Will and, getting to know him better, he has a very interesting background and, life experiences, which I felt would be really good to share to a wider audience. And, really a very inspirational and motivational experience, if I may say so. So Will, as the title of today's session is Breaking Out of Street Mentality Silo. Will has successfully and permanently done that. And I just find that to be very inspirational. And so Will, you could start off by telling us, how did you get into that situation where you were in this street mentality?
I think for me, if I were going to sum it up with one word, it would be insecurities. And they were insecurities shrouded in identity issues and not really knowing who I was. I grew up to a single mom who was white, who was raised in the suburbs in the 70s here in Minnesota. And maybe for some of you guys that are all listening all over the world, I'm sure you know who George Floyd is. So, and I'm sure might know who Philando Castile is. So you kind of might have an idea of kind of how the race relations might work here in the Twin Cities area of Minnesota. So my mother was a white woman raised in the suburbs, and she had a child with a black man, a brown-skinned child, which was pretty taboo for a white woman to do that in this part of the world, and not uncommon, but taboo at the time. And so what happened is I grew up just kind of in a loving home, but we lived in the inner city, because my mom was a single mother. She, was forced to kind of go where work was, and she was out on her own raising me. So we lived in the inner city, predominantly, I want to say minority and poor communities is where we first resided at. And I grew up in an area where everybody kind of looked like me. And then I went home to where my mom didn't look like me, but I had this like super passionate, loving mom and kind of really stable inside the home environment. But when I stepped outside, everything was unstable outside the home, in the neighborhoods, the children, the other family situations, they were very unstable. And as I got older and we, my mom kind of elevated her maybe her career status, and we ended up moving to a neighborhood in St. Paul, which was a little nicer. I became a teenager at that point in time, and that's when I started to kind of question who I was, because it was like I had white friends that would use the word nigger around me, and I had black friends that would be like, "You act too white." So I didn't have any identity. I just didn't know where I fit in, right? And that created a lot of insecurities within me. And one thing about the streets take everybody in. If you wanna be involved and live the street life, they welcome you with open arms. Come on in, because misery loves company. And there's a lot of misery in the streets. And that's kind of how I got sucked into that life.
Right. So can you tell us a bit more about what do you do, being on the streets and life being on the streets? What kind of activities were you involved in?
Well, the kind of activities that, I was involved in were a lot of illegal activities. We were doing a lot of stuff to just make money. So we could live the life that we wanted, and live the life that we wanted, just kind of living life without rules, living life without boundaries, doing what we want, staying up all night, partying all night, hanging out with women, chasing women, just smoking weed and just hanging out with your boys and drinking. Literally, that's what we did. We got up in the morning and we hustled and we tried to make money to kind of live the life we wanted. We also started our own record label, which was really uncommon back then. So we were taking a lot of the money we would make in the streets, and we were trying to build this record label. So we had like a recording studio. We were buying recording equipment. We were putting on shows around town. So it was a very fast paced and dangerous lifestyle. But at that point in time, you're like, oh man, I was like 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. It was fun too, you know?
Yeah, and I would imagine like starting a record label, that was something positive in a way. I mean, you guys, there was a lot of skills that you learned, and which I think, like, we've had this conversation before, that those sort of experiences, work experiences, and running the record company, composing stuff, that has helped you in your career now as well, your work experience now.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yep. My first foray into business was the music business, and started learning the music business and basic business when I was like 17, 18 years old.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, if life was so good back then, right? What was it that this made you decide to change? Was there any trigger? What was it, when was the turning point that you decided to change?
I think after I had kids, I had kids in my early 20s, and I was still at that point in time. I had been to jail a couple times. I was on probation. I was convicted of a crime. So I had a probation officer that was just on my ass, man. And this lady was notorious here in St. Paul. Like, I had 4 friends that she had sent to prison because they were violating probation. So she was really tough. The thing about her is she liked me though. So she would violate me, but she would never send me to prison. She never gave up on me. She saw potential in me. And what happened is I would kind of like slowly was becoming more of a working man, like having a day job and less of a street life, less hustling and stuff like that. And as I got older, my kids got older, and I got more into my family life. Took the music and looked at it more of a business than just kind of like a lifestyle. I just kind of slowly started to transition into that world, into more of we call it a square life, living a square life. And honestly, let's what I can say is this: I'm not necessarily, I didn't start in the streets. I started in kind of like a fun-loving, happy kid, and I went to the streets. So really, what I've been trying to do, I haven't been trying to get out of the streets. Been trying to get back to who I've always been. That's what I'm trying to get back to who I am and who I really am at my core. That's really what it was.
Right, right. I mean, going back to your experience in the recording company, what was skills that you picked up there that you think have been really beneficial to what you're doing now?
I think learning how to build relationships in that world, because in the music world, it's all about who you know and how you know them. So I think learning how to build relationships was a really key aspect to that. And I think hustling, promoting, having to promote your album, having to promote your show, having to promote your single, having to get the word out there and trying to get attention. Because in 2021 and beyond, I always say attention is currency. Attention is money now. So that taught me how the skills that are needed to try to get attention on, hey, look at me, this is what I'm doing.
Right, right. And that fits in really well with what you're doing now as owner of Vivid Concerts Media, where you're helping companies, build their brands, marketing their services. Like, okay, you've been helping, and I think what I forgot to mention to the audience was that whatever you're doing now in your personal and professional life, giving back to community has been central in what you do. I mean, some of your clients, like I had mentioned, ANEW Chemical Health Services, which is a sober house thing for women, Rainbow Restoration, which provides also essential services for marginalized sections of society. I mean, that I guess when people, like, some people, when they have this stereotype where, oh, this guy's from the streets, he's got to be bad, he can't, there's no way he's going to be good. But actually, it takes, and this is a sort of silo that people have to break, like breaking those stereotypes and actually knowing people, like as you mentioned, making connections, building human relationships, and getting to know people. And actually, what you're doing now is probably so much more than some other people, some normal people who were never on the
Yeah,
streets.
yeah. And let's do this. So let's just kind of talk about the streets and what that means. That really means
Yeah.
you're living a life you're poor, you're maybe marginalized. We're talking about marginalized communities. We're talking about people that didn't have a lot of opportunities. Okay, like I have one friend of mine that I met through music. He was a rapper, and literally, and this is, I'm not lying to you. This is the actual fact. Literally every single person in his family either used drugs or sold drugs. Period. There was no ands, ifs, or in between. Both of his parents were crack addicts and alcoholics. Okay, so he grew up in that life. Okay, and right now, and he's I think he just turned like 45. Right now, he's doing community work. He's working in the community. He's trying to help the youth and working with gangs and trying to get them off the streets and stuff like that. But think about how I used to, because I used to try to help him. I got him jobs. I bailed him out of jail when he was younger. I did a lot of things to try to help him, And I used to think to myself, man, this dude really doesn't have any chance, all right? Because everything's stacked against him. Even if he wants to leave that lifestyle, everybody he's ever known, everybody that he's ever called family, everybody that he's ever loved and who's ever loved him is addicted to the drug culture in some way, shape, or form. And then you got to think, well, how did that happen? Well, I'm reading a book right now called The Color of Law, where here in the United States, people of color have been systematically, okay, oppressed. And we're not talking about just through like the Jim Crow laws. After they gotten rid of Jim Crow laws, there were the Jim Crow elites still controlled everything. And I'm just in this book, they're talking about how housing projects were originally made to be integrated, but municipalities would come in and say, nope, we can't have whites in black neighborhoods. We can't have these kind of schools in black neighborhoods. We can't have these kind of rec centers in black neighborhoods. And it doesn't matter whether you're black or white, whether you're Asian, whether you're Muslim living in, let's say you're living in Palestine. If you're poor and you're living in a marginalized community, you're going to be depressed. You're going to be stressed. You're going to have anxiety and things that we as humans, just any human nature, you're going to kind of gravitate towards drugs. You're going to gravitate towards alcohol. You're going to gravitate towards things that are going to numb your mind and kind of maybe take away the reality, that you're living in. So when we talk about a silo, some silos are layered, right? Because it starts with you yourself, but then think about the silos that maybe your government have put you in and how hard you got to fight to get out of those as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely, there's some parallels to that. I mean, not to the extent of what Black Americans are facing, but the point about how governments, even back in the British colonial period in Singapore and Malaysia, they used this, divide and rule policy, keeping the, different ethnic groups separate. And, it's actually issue of poverty. It's a class issue, but in some cases, in my part of the world, it gets conflated with race, with your ethnicity, and that just, then people think, oh, it's a race issue, it's an ethnic issue, but actually it's not. It's a class issue, and so that just doesn't help the cause. And I think, I think the narrative is changing. At least more people who are more enlightened about the topic, they realize it's a class issue. It's not a race issue. But I think there's still a lot of work to be done on that front, on trying to get people more aware and understanding and just knowing each other. I mean, you have people. I had a classmate or a few classmates when I was in what we call junior college. It's like senior high school. he had pretty much no non-Chinese friend, and he was making some really not so nice comments after 9/11 happened. I wouldn't bother
Yeah.
saying. I think I mentioned to you some time back, but it
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah. I
he's
remember.
been in that whole world where he's just in his own silo, and it's ironic because here we are in a multicultural country, yet there are people still living in their own little silos and making derogatory remarks, thinking it's a joke when it's not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, those are certain parallels I see. um I might want to ask you then, given those circumstances that people are in, how then, what would be the steps they would take, I mean, given on your experience, to break out of that silo, and what have you done personally to achieve that
Yeah.
permanent lifestyle change?
Yeah. So, you know, I'll speak to me, and then how that could probably help someone who is maybe even in a more dire situation than I was in.
Yeah.
It comes down to, you have to change your environment. You have to change what you consume. And when I say consume, it could be on a lot of levels, but we'll start with what you're putting in your mind. People have an influence on who you are. People have an influence on how you think. Who you are around can change who you are. Because it changed me. I shouldn't say I changed my friends. My friends changed, and I changed with them. Okay. And then I got to a point where I'm like, in my late 30s, and I'm like, I have to change, because I can't keep doing what these guys are doing. They didn't make drastic changes, and I had to make these changes for myself. So you have to change who you're around, and that energy that you're consuming and you're letting into your body. That's number you're living on. You don't know that there's a whole nother world out there, and the way that you can find other worlds is through reading, through maybe even social media, man. Like, when I was like financially corrupt, meaning that I was broke. I was making good money, making at least a middle class wage here in the US, and I had no money in my savings. And one thing I realized is that on my Instagram, I was following athletes, I was following celebrities, I was following people that were, just kind of hip hop, rap stars, whatever. And I realized that they provided me no value. Zero value. So what I did is I got rid of probably 80 to 90% of them, and replaced each one with an entrepreneur, a business person, a motivational speaker, a motivational memes, and I changed the consumption of what was getting into my mind. So those are probably the two things that I would say is change your environment, and then expand your world, because living through people that are living the life that you want for yourself is a way to expand your world and open yourself up to other possibilities that are out there. When you live in the hood and when you live in poverty, it's hard to get your dreams. And like I said, when I was growing up, I had a loving home. I was able to go to the suburbs every weekend and see my grandparents, but my environment where I lived daily, it was the hood, man. My mom lived in the hood for half of my young childhood, from when I was like 4 to like 9, 4 to 10. So 6 years of my early development, we were in the hood, and I didn't see anything else outside of that, except when I went to the suburbs. That was like an escape. We went back to the hood after Sunday dinner, we were back in it.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to mention about there was a point you mentioned about um, being in the hood, and having this, what you consume really plays a part. Really is really how really determines how you what you do. Um, and that also speaks to what I talk about, where in this globalized world, which we're supposed to be more connected, people are actually more disconnected, and social media actually puts you more into that silo, because we become lazy, we want convenience, so whatever you see, and now in the world of Facebook, you only see what you want to see, it's your preference. So
Well,
in
even worse, you see what Facebook thinks you want to see,
yeah,
right?
exactly, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
um
So you
and
have to go
so
out and seek more information in order to change what's influencing you. Because let's say that you're a Trump supporter, right? Or let's say you're an anti-Trump person. When you log into Facebook, that they're going to beam to you what they think is going to keep you on their platform longer. So if you're
Yeah.
a Trump lover, they're going to only feed you that viewpoint. And if you're like an anti-Trump person, they're only going to feed you that viewpoint. So you never, like you said, you become even more separated rather than staying connected. Because what they've found out is they can keep you on their platforms longer through negativity than they can through positives.
Yeah,
Positives.
yeah, yeah. And it's also people are becoming more, people's attention spans are a lot shorter. People don't read books as much when actually that's a wealth of information. Uh, so it's where our information comes from that really makes a difference. And this point about what you said about celebrities, how you changed, who you followed. I said something related to that in one of my previous Instagram posts where I love Bollywood. I grew up on Bollywood, but as I grew older, I've been more selective on which celebrities I choose to follow. And for me, it's not just their on-screen appearance performance that matters; it's what they do offline and off-screen, and what their ethics and behaviors are. And I think just the response or the lack of response from a lot of Bollywood actors in the wake of the farmers' protest now, that was, to me, that's a big, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You have so much influence, yet you're
Sure.
not using your influence for a good cause. And so there are a handful of people that I feel have been really vocal in that. Nazaruddin Shah, and
Yeah.
ironically, in a lot of Bollywood movies, he plays the villain.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but he's the real life hero. You know what I mean? So,
Okay. Okay.
it's very interesting how who you follow it really matters on why you. I mean, the question is, why are you following them? Why are you getting the content? Why do you want to follow them? So, I think that feeds into a point where what do you want out of life? Are
Yeah.
you just
Yeah. Yeah.
passively consuming just for entertainment, or do you see that something strategic for where you want to see or progress in life?
Yeah.
uh,
Well, it's escapism, So if we're in the age of
yeah,
escapism, I just posted this morning. You'll see once we get off where because we, for those of you guys that don't know, Sophia and I work together on my permanent on my content, and so today I was supposed to make a post about what are you buying, but I went on a 2.5 minute not lecture, rant about why I buy the dumb shit I buy and why people buy the dumb shit they buy. And it's escapism. And I think when you're talking about why are you just said something about why are you consuming this content? Are you just passively letting it all in? And that's really what's happening to us because we've been told that we are inadequate human beings. We're nothing unless we have, unless we have that bag of Cheetos, unless we have that beautiful new car. That's how we're going to get the woman. That's how we're going to get the man of our dreams if we wear this makeup and this hair product. And so we're constantly being told that we're all being marginalized to some degree through marketing and media. And I know this because I'm a marketer, right? And so we just start to just kind of, it gets so overwhelmed. We just kind of just sit back and just take it kind of like zombies with our mouths open. It just goes, feeding into our souls, and sometimes people like myself, people like you, we have an awakening and then we say, I don't want any more. I don't want any more of that. And that's kind of how you start to begin to change your life, right? Is through that
yeah.
consumption.
Where the I mean, unpopular opinion, but hey, that's the fact, that's the truth.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
uh, I mean, the point you mentioned about how we're just consuming, we're just buying stuff. I mean, in this COVID time, really, do we really need all that stuff? And
Yeah.
I think, like, the content that you're covering this month on financial literacy, you know, it's stuff that's not taught in school. And we've
Yeah.
seen statistics on how what is it, 16% of millennials in the US are financially literate. So that's a lot of people who are not financially literate. I mean, even for us here in Asia, I mean, okay, we do a lot of savings. Asians tend to save, but still, it's like, how do you manage the funds? How can you grow your wealth? That's not, that's not taught in schools. I mean, you know, technically you're just supposed to, you know, get a job, go to work, but yeah, creating that
Yeah,
wealth. I mean, that's stuff you learn on the side, or you know,
yeah.
yeah,
Or you're born into it, and it's a generational thing where
yeah,
somebody in your family
that's right.
figured out what generational wealth is and how to build it, and it's passed on through generation. But that doesn't happen to a lot of people. A lot of people aren't fortunate enough for that.
And but now, I mean, this is why your content on Fridays for this month of February is so important, because you're talking about financial literacy on hashtag fatherhood Fridays. Maybe you want to tell us a bit of that about that. I don't think I can play the video because it's gonna make
Sure,
the
sure. Yeah,
internet
yeah, yeah.
wonk.
It'll probably slow everything down. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just kind of on my personal brand stuff. We're talking about financial this month of February. We're just talking about financials, and we're not doing a deep dive where we're breaking down numbers. I'm just kind of just giving tips and sharing my personal experiences because part of what we're talking about here is breaking that street mentality. And in the streets, what we are taught to do is make money, make cash, but we're also taught to spend that shit on stupid stuff because in the hood we feel like we've been forgotten. And one thing that we love in the hood is attention. We want people to see our fancy cars, our new rims, our fresh pair of shoes, the bad women, the good looking women we're with. So what we're taught to do is make money and spend money. And so what I also learned is that to make a lifestyle change, there's a financial shift that has to happen too, because oftentimes your insecurities can revolve around your financials. So what I'm talking about on Fatherhood Fridays is how as a father I'm trying to uh, bestow some financial wisdom into my children, and how as parents we all should be trying to bestow some financial wisdom in our children. In order to do that, it starts with us. We have to go out and take that information, implement it into our lives. Therefore, we can pass that on to our children, and therefore maybe we can start to build that generational wealth mindset. I don't know if Mike lost the sound or something. Let me see here. Testing 1, 2, 3. All right, still getting sound there. Maybe I'm going to change. Let me do this, Sophia. I'm going to turn my earphones off. Well, my earphones are still on, but I can't hear you for some reason. Can you hear me? Now I can
Right,
hear you.
right.
I can hear you now.
Is there perhaps? Oh no, can you hear me?
I can't even. I think your connection got bad again.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, I can
Can you
hear
hear me,
you.
Will?
I, I can hear you. Yes, but it's very glitchy. I think you're having internet problems.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello.
yes, I can hear you.
I hear you fine.
You can hear me? Wave your hand if you can hear me. Okay. Okay. It's your sound is off. Your sound is like really glitchy.
Hi. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Okay. Maybe I want to
Now
ask
it's
you a
starting to
bit
come back.
about
Yeah.
how changing, you know, the changes that you made to your life. You've already mentioned a bit about this on Fatherhood Friday. Oh my God. Ah.
I can
Hello.
hear you.
Oh my goodness. Hi. Yeah. I'm just. Okay. Changing your lifestyle. It's
I don't know. Maybe you should log off and log back in to
all right. I'll do that. Give me a
the
sec.
call. Oh
Hang
wait,
on,
you're back.
folks.
You're back. You're back now. You're back now.
Okay, am I? All right.
Yep, you're back. Yep. You're good.
You know what? I am definitely just gonna do recordings. But I mean, it's yeah.
No, I mean,
Anyway,
it'll work itself out.
it
It'll work
works. I mean,
itself
yeah,
out.
I'm okay with it. Like, yeah. Thanks, folks, for
Hey,
sticking
we
through.
got 4 viewers. Thank you to the 4 people that are watching. We love you. We appreciate the love.
Shakes
We love you for
Gaming.
sticking
Ah,
with us.
my nephew all the way in Toronto. Hi. So anyway, I was saying maybe you can let us know how the changes that you made to your life, how that has impacted um, your relationship with your sons.
Yeah. So, you know, my kids, this is something that was a new revelation to me not too long ago that um, my my past life had both a negative and positive effect on my children and me as a father. And I'm gonna tell you how. I was very tough on my kids. And I realized that I was tough on my kids because I was deathly afraid. I was insecure of them becoming who I became. Okay. I was so afraid and ashamed of who I became that I was harder on them because I didn't want them to become like me. And in some respects, that backfired because it it I kept them out of dangerous situations and bad situations. They're really good kids now, so. But it also there was probably times where I could have been more compassionate, more understanding, and I was just a hard ass. I was just tough on them instead. And so, also through that time of my life, through most of my 20s and 30s, I'm drinking still a lot. So I would definitely say I was an alcoholic in that point in my life, and not mean, but that affects your mood. That affects your way that you think. You don't have as much clarity. I'm lazier because I'm hungover, 3 or 4 times a week, rather than hustling and getting my work together, getting my shit together those other 3 or 4 times a week. My kids will tell you that anytime they looked into the stands at one of their sporting events, I was there. I was always present in their life. I was coaching. They lived with me more than they lived with their mom because we had separated early in the age. So they were with me probably like 3/4 of the time. But I wasn't always my best me, and I think since I've made some major changes in my life, I think I've earned their trust back. I think they're more comfortable opening up to me, where in the past they weren't because I was such a hard ass. And I think our adult relationship that I've developed with my kids are a lot better because also the relationship I've developed with myself is a lot better.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Do you think that, just talking a bit more generally on contemporary developments, there's a lot more visibility or, very outspoken, a lot more content out there about, Black Lives Matter and other, great raising awareness of these issues. Do you think that has changed, made it better for them compared to you, compared to your time, or do you think it's the same old?
Man, it's the same old. I'll give you an example. My son, who is almost basically a straight A student at a fairly prestigious college here in the Twin Cities, um, you know, I think it was like last year where he was pulled over like 3 or 4 times, and they were saying things like, "Oh, you weren't wearing your seatbelt," and this, it was just bullshit. They were just pulling him over because he was young and black, and there was more than one black kid in the car. And none of my kids, none of the friends that particular son hangs out with, they're all either in college, have a job, getting good grades. You know what's funny too? You know what's really, excuse my language, fucking funny is that every time I tell this story, I have to preference it with, I have to tell everybody how good my kid is first, right? I can't just say my son has been unjustly pulled over multiple times for no reason. I have to quantify him that, hey, he's been a good little boy. He follows the rules. and you know what I'm saying? I'm just thinking that now, how disgusting that is, that in our culture, that in American culture, to justify my black son, I have to tell you that he has good grades and he's not a gangster, you know? But so just that statement alone, that's your answer right there. Has it gotten better in some areas? Yes, but it hasn't changed a whole lot. It's part of who we are here. It's part of our foundation here in the U.S.
Do administrations or changes in administration help?
Yes and no. I think on a more of a local level, it helps. I think local politics is probably more important. But man, it's a systematic thing. And the system that's been built is so deeply rooted in corruption and race that the people that now run it, they don't even know. They don't know that. The people that are in control of the system, they don't even know that this system is corrupt. You know, and the people that benefit from it, if they did know that, why would they want to change it? Because they're the ones benefiting from it. So, sometimes there's people that will be like, white people will say to me, but what about when Obama was president? And I'll be like, he was a symbol. But he didn't do shit for the black community. He didn't change anything. Nothing was changed because he's just a president is a mascot. He's a placeholder. The system is in place. A president's not going to change the system. Joe Biden is not going to change the system. Some things might get tweaked, but the system's in play, and it's always going to be that way unless it's been torn down and built back up a different way.
Right, yeah. What do you think needs to be done? I mean, in your opinion, what do you think needs to be done to change the systems? Like,
I don't know. I don't know what needs to be done to change the systems. What I do know is that things need to be done to change who we are as individuals. I think that we as the people need to take more responsibility for who we are, what we consume. Again, like I had made that example, we just kind of lay back with our mouths open and just let them feed us all kinds of bullshit, and we just consume, and nobody ever questions anything. Nobody ever questions themselves. Nobody ever says, what do I need to do to change my life? Like when the elections were going on here in the US with Trump and Biden, I was posting a lot of content about, here, I'll give you an example. Under Obama for 8 years, my life wasn't that good. I was drinking, I was partying, I was broke. And it had nothing to do with Barack Obama. My life had nothing, the things that happened in my life had nothing to do with him. And conversely, Donald Trump, under his presidency, were the years I made the biggest changes in my life. It became more positive and more happy. He had nothing to do with that. It was all on me and the world that I created for myself. So I don't know if the systems can be changed unless we change ourselves first and take some personal responsibility.
Right, yeah. I mean, that's, you can only change yourself. You can only control what you can, and that's ourselves. I definitely agree with that. Maybe to sort of like before we close, a couple more questions. So, what else do you have planned for 2021 and beyond?
So, for 2020, 21, or I like to call it 2020 2.0.
Yeah, pretty much.
For this year, I kind of I don't necessarily look at things from a personal standpoint by the year of the date. I look at it kind of like my birthday. So really what I'm trying to do is just continue to grow. I try to be a better person every day. I'm doing a lot of self-awareness is extremely important to me. I think without self-awareness and really getting an understanding of who you are and why you do the things you do, I don't think you can really make any positive change without knowing who you are. So I'm deepening that journey with my self-awareness to really figure out who I am. From a personal standpoint, I'm trying to put out more content on social media. So you guys find me on LinkedIn. You can see my names there. Find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, because I'm sharing a lot more. I'm going to be sharing a lot more of myself, and just kind of like my struggles and my successes in hopes of giving people more value, and maybe they can inspire people, because I just really want to inspire people. at the end of the day, I really want to help inspire change in people. From a business perspective, my business, Vivid Concepts Media, which I work with you closely. We work on some projects together. I just want to expand that business and get more clients in that, and hopefully have 10 to 12 regular clients by the end of 2021, going into 2022, and really build up that business. As you know, I'm going to be leaving my day job at some point in time in September, the end of September, and I'm going to be going into Vivid Concepts full time, and then also continue to build a real estate portfolio. I have a very tiny, minuscule one now, but hopefully I can add a couple more properties to that by the end of the year as well.
Exciting, exciting. Uh, and I guess to also, final question, what advice would you give someone who is trying to break silos, and particularly in terms of breaking out of a difficult past and dealing with misperceptions and stereotypes?
Yeah, I think what we have to do in those situations is we have to garner self-awareness. We really, 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 really have to take a look at yourself and say, why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Why am I attracted to people that are negative, right? Why am I attracted to these kind of lifestyles that might revolve around drugs and alcohol and just kind of being partying, going out? Why am I who I am? And once you address the why, you can kind of reverse engineer to see how you got to that point. Because once you reverse engineer it, then you know how you can get out of it. So I think that the main thing to change in your life is self-awareness. And then once you find that self-awareness, I think it's consumption, right? I think it's what you consume. What are you watching on TV? What are you watching on your phone? Who are the people that you're around? What are you reading or what are you not reading, right? What kind of music are you listening to? Something that was huge for me was I'm a music lover. I worked in the music business, so I love music, but I had to quit. I had to take the hours of music I was listening to and replace that with podcasts of successful billionaires, real estate people, marketers, brand builders, the things that I wanted to manifest in my own life and become. I had to listen to those people and quit listening to rappers tell me to go to the club and pop bottles and sleep with models, right? So it's self-awareness and consumption, I think, are the two biggest things that kind of get you headed in the right direction.
Excellent, excellent. Yes, self-awareness and consumption. Definitely great tips there. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the viewers?
Yeah, I would just like to say to everybody out there, thank you for those of you that tuned in. I think we might even got up to like 7 people today, so that was pretty cool. And just again, I just want to remind everybody, man, if you're on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, please find me on there. You can see my hashtags there. And I just want to let everybody know, like, I was deep into a life of crime. I was really probably at one point in time depressed, didn't have a lot of faith in myself, full of insecurities, full of self-doubt, and had been in and out of jail, selling drugs, just all of that kind of stuff. And I was able to get myself out of that situation. And I want everybody out there to know that you can do the same thing. If you're facing a situation that's worse, maybe you're facing a situation that's not as bad, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. I know it's possible for you to do it. So just really take a hard look at yourself and decide, are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Because if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, now you have something to work with. You've hit a rock bottom, and now you only have one place to go, and that's up from there. So just anybody out there listening that sees this, man, if you're really feeling like you're ready for that change, then just know it is possible.
Yeah, yeah. And I just want to add that, you've got your Permanent Lifestyle podcast, and you've interviewed some really interesting people as well. What was his name? Richard, who also had a life of crime and then
Yes.
changed.
Yep.
And, and I found that one interesting. And also the interviews with Robin Robinson and Georgia
Yes.
Ford, and talking about
Yep.
how, money and the media and all this, basically all that stuff we're talking about, how what we're consuming is all superficial and how it's orchestrated.
Absolutely.
So yeah, definitely check out the Permanent Lifestyle podcast when you can on YouTube, and also do subscribe to the Breaking Silos with Sophia Jamil channel on YouTube, and I'll be putting out a lot more content, not just these live sessions. And thank you, folks, for joining us. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another guest, Lenny Wee, who's Singaporean, currently based in LA. More on that in the forthcoming week. Thank you, Will, for joining me, and thank you, everybody. And have a good night, or have a good day in Minnesota.
Yeah, it's a good day. Look here, guys. It's daytime here in Minnesota.
It's pitch dark here.
We're breaking silos. We're breaking silos here
That's
because
right.
we're connecting with each other from all across the world, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, thank you, Will, and thank you,
All right,
everybody.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.